Okay, I'm just checking.
I know there is great appreciation
would you
for
like
the
to speak?
interactive nature of my meetings.
I would say Ms. Parkinson does a wonderful job.
Thank you, Ms.
Indeed,
Parkinson.
indeed.
All right, we're going to move to number 3.
And Dr. Perry did a great superintendent update. It was very concise and to the point. No elaboration.
So we're going to move to number 3. Appreciate it, Mr. Hall, for your feedback there. You'll have more time during the board meeting. Received demographer's report on student growth and enrollment projections. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. Horak. What a feisty group this seems. Hunter Huff is joining us from Zonda Demographers. He's probably wondering about us as he's watched us interact through the first couple
This
of.
is great. Yeah,
So, no, Hunter's here to provide us our fall update projections with regards to enrollment. Again, this process, Hunter will take us through their 10-year projections so we can kind of see the projected growth as a district through the out years. Apply that to, you'll be able to see that at the campus level as well. Remember, this is the first step. Then next month, Ms. Strauss will take FC Local, take the information that Hunter shares with us tonight in our update and kind of apply capacity numbers. You'll see some of that with Hunter's work. Also, the comparability parts as defined by FC Local. So all the extra pieces that we're accustomed to with FC Local will occur at the December meeting, and any particular recommendations, suggestions, or thoughts for exploration will be a part of administration's recommendation in December when we do the FC Local. So this is the first step. They give us the numbers, the demographers, and then we'll do some work with it and come back to you in December. So with that said, Hunter,
all right.
thank you for being here.
Well, President Vork, thank you so much. Board members and Mr. Martindale, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. It's great to be back in College Station. It's been a while for me, but I'm excited to be back. Quick review. Let's see if I can get that working. A quick review of our current enrollment grade numbers in comparison to our last few years. First, I will point out that we show you have grown about 283 students. That's a growth rate of about 2% from the previous school year. And I would also point out that you can see in this, there's a reference to the yellow cells having the largest grade class and the green being the second large grade class. And you can see that there was a 5th grade class that's back in 2018, and it has moved up year over year, and that class is actually in the 9th grade now. And so you can see that, and we always want to point that out, that at some point in time, as that class continues to move forward into their later years in high school, that there could be a little bit of a leveling off as we continue to manage the growth in that time frame. But just important to note that. And then you can see below that there are the grade cohorts. And so in reference to that, you can see an increase in the 1st and 7th grade levels that had significant growth year over year. Our economy related to our job market has been extremely strong in the last several years. That has contributed to a strong housing market. Unemployment in Texas as of August was at 4.2%, and the College Station Bryan area was at 3.5%. We anticipate that there will continue to be significant job growth. You can see that here at CC Creations, which is scheduled to bring several hundred new jobs, as well as the Fuji facility that is expected to create 150 new jobs. And then there's an expansion of GCON that we show is going to add about an additional 100 to 150 new jobs. You can see by the rise of the home prices, the average home prices, that there has been significant the rise in those numbers as well. You can see that there's about a 58% increase over the last 10 years in new homes, and it's about a 61% increase with your existing within existing home sales. So with that said, you can see this next slide, there has actually been a drop in home sales in the district. And this is not necessarily specific to College Station. This is happening throughout the state and right now probably throughout the country as interest rates have increased with the Federal Reserve raising the federal fund rate over the last several months. The example like we've been sharing with folks is in March, there was most rates were about 3.5%, and home price on average, and it's consistent with what we have here in College Station, would be about a $343,000 house in that time frame. Would be a house payment, monthly house payment of about $1,900. When you fast forward with price escalations in the market, that $343,000 house is moved up to about a $365,000 house. And you take that in combination with a 7% interest rate, that adds that monthly payment to about $2,765. So about an $800 difference over the last 6 to 7 months. So those are the things that are challenging a home buyer thinking about what they're doing right now. So we see that currently right now in quite a few markets. Related to affordability, you can see that multifamily, those rates here in this area, we continue to see percentage increases in the multifamily market as well. So you can see year over year increases of that 9% and 8.8%. So just throughout the market, there have been increases. There are a total of about 1,161 multifamily units that are nearing completion. The large multifamily development that we have here, there's about 648 future multifamily units that are in the planning stages. As we get more into the housing development, let's see, we'll go, I'm sorry, I jumped forward there a little bit. I apologize for that. We're going to get into the Southern Point. And so Southern Point, that is in the Pebble Creek attendance zone. There is 1,994 total lots with 94 vacant developed lots in that area, in that development. 30 homes are currently under construction and 1,664 future lots are in that development. The homes are priced at about $270,000. Next, we have Pebble Creek that has about 1,800 homes or lots with 57 vacant developed lots and 327 future lots. We show that there have been about 8 new homes that have been permitted in this area over the last 6 months. So I'll point out in a couple of these locations where the permit numbers are a little bit down over the last 6 months. So that's somewhat in alignment with what we're seeing with the home sales. Let's see, these are in that 200,000 range as well. Next, we have Brewster Point, and I would reference Brewster Point is in the Spring Creek Elementary Zone, and it has 197 total lots, 3 vacant developed lots, and 188 futures. And they final platted phase 3 for 88 additional lots back in July. And we anticipate build out right now at about mid 2024. Next, we have Creek Meadows that is about 1,005 total lots. Approximately 885 of those homes are built and occupied. But they do have 120 vacant developed lots remaining. This also has a development that has only permitted about 8 homes in the last 6 months. So again, a little bit of a slowdown in that area. There is also Green Prairie Reserve that has 906 total lots with 63 vacant developed lots and 780 future lots. They're anticipating right now about 40 to 60 homes that would be built per year. And these are in that 350,000 price range. Next, a future development that's coming is Wellborn Settlement. Has 115 future lots, and there is groundwork and utilities that are underway, and they do anticipate the first few homes being delivered by the end of 2023. There is Winding Creek Estates that has 25 vacant developed lots and 23 futures that are planned. Let's see. These are in that 530 plus range, so we'll definitely be slower developing in that area. Finally, we have Midtown Reserve that has 724 total lots with 33 vacant developed lots in there and 60 homes that are currently under construction. And we know that we have about 409 future lots that are in that development. And they've permitted 17 new homes in the last 6 months, estimating about 120, when things ramp back up, 100 to 120 homes being built every year. And this is a D.R. Horton development. And then we do have Midtown Reserve, let's see, is at 724 total lots with 33 vacant developed lots, 60 homes underneath there. And I actually jumped around there. I apologize for that. I think I jumped over that one real quick. Did I?
Mission Ranch.
Go back. Yeah, I apologize for that. Mission Ranch has the 123 vacant developed lots and 237 future lots. They have platted several of the phases over the last several months, and they anticipate building out that over the next 5 years. And the price range of that is that 350,000 plus. Our research team has reported that the International Leadership of Texas will be building and opening up a high school grade building behind the current K through 8 campus. And that building is anticipated to be built this next year and opened in August of 2024. Our kindergarten numbers are down from the previous year, but that is relatively in line with the birth rates that were dated back to 2017. So the previous 2016 year, we had a few more kindergarten numbers last year, but you can also see that there were more births in that correlated 2016 year. So we think that's somewhat tied to that. Specific to grade levels, this goes back and identifies your larger grade classes, but I would reference the tables to the right to show where the numbers are related to growth and the total percentage of growth. And so you can see that we are dropping the projections for next year a little bit down to that 1.6. Proposing to be a little bit more conservative with seeing what we're seeing with the building permit numbers and the home starts slowing a bit with the interest rate increases. But we still anticipate that as time goes on, the market will settle that out. Potentially prices may come down a little bit to offset and make sure that there's affordability in the market to offset those higher interest rates. So we do anticipate that things will continue to move forward, and homes are going to continue to be built, and people are going to continue to be moving into this area.
Hunter, I have a quick question before you move
Yes.
on. What are you seeing as you guys do these for various districts throughout the state? What are you seeing just collectively in general from the state? I know some spots are probably are experiencing significant growth, but others are dropping off. I mean, or did I just capture it? What's the theme?
It is. We are seeing a slowing of growth. And in Texas, we still continue to see there's job growth. There's still growth that's happening. But we have seen a slowing in home construction over the last several months. And so we are seeing those things slow down. We are also seeing a little bit of the elementary numbers dropping a little bit, especially in the kindergarten and first grade levels. We're trying to figure out if that's related to the birth rates dropping. We know that the birth rates in general have dropped for a number of years, and so we know that's a contributor. And then we know that there's a possibility that there, over the last few years, with some of the things that have happened, there may be a few folks that are keeping their kids home in those earlier grades, and so that's helping, or that's dropping some of the overall numbers. But we still see our secondary and our high school numbers continue to stay stable. So it's in those lower grade levels that we're seeing some drops. Overall, when you look at it on a campus by campus basis, you can see that the capacities are still well in line with where you need them to be for the next several years at the elementary level. So from that standpoint, that's a good thing to be able to be in that kind of a position. We do anticipate with the growth and development that's in the Pebble Creek attendance areas that by the 26-27 year that those are going to reach beyond capacity, and so some decisions may have to be made. And then again, long term, maybe Southwood Valley Elementary may reach capacity and have some challenges moving forward in those out years.
So if you can go back, so and the board's aware, of course, Pebble Creek, that's the Southern Point development that he referenced earlier. And when it highlights on here, and again, Amy will go into more detail next month, the highlight with theirs, they're using the same capacity numbers we utilize and that we will use in our FC local presentation. But the highlight begins at 110% capacity number that we've identified in policy. So Pebble Creek, as you're aware, is Southern Point. Southwood Valley would be because of development of Midtown.
Middle school capacities, there's still room. You have strong numbers at both A&M Consolidated and Welborn, and some lower numbers at College Station Middle, but all well within capacity numbers up until that 28-29 year for Welborn. And then really the challenge that's there is something I know the district is aware of is College Station High School, specific to where you're at with capacity, and that's only going to, those numbers are only increasing in that for that high school specifically. To summarize, College Station economic and housing market continues to experience growth. We do anticipate that home sales will be in that more than 2,000 home sales over the 2022 year. 760 lots that are available to build on, and a significant number of lots, specific 3,800 planned future lots still to come. Need to be aware that there is an expansion of the International Leadership of Texas campus, and but we see significant continued growth and anticipate that the enrollment will exceed 15,400 by the time we get to 27-28, and ultimately about 16,400 by the time we're in 32-33, just a few years from now. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Hopefully an easy one. On the IL Texas build of the high school, are you factoring us in any change to our numbers based on that?
We don't have any major adjustments to those projected numbers right now. We know that they currently have high school students that are currently at the K through 8 levels, and would anticipate that much of their growth would probably just be a carry up from their prior our prior student grades, but that will be something that we will continue to talk to the district about this next year, moving into to the following, to make sure that we're prepared for planning as far as 2024.
Because they do have have a high school open in town, they just don't have their own facility. They're leasing the space. So I wouldn't expect it to necessarily be any change in numbers,
We haven't
really.
referenced any change in the projections at this point in time because of that.
Yeah, typically it is their capacity is because they just carry the kids up, right? So. Amy, at the end of last year, we were projected at 2.6, so this one's been adjusted to 2.0, correct? Am I remembering correctly as to our spring update was 2.6?
Yes, it's 2.6, and I will remind you, when I was presenting enrollment, I even had it higher, but I go from snapshot date, and his data is from the end of last year to now. So I like to use those stable numbers that TEA reports. So mine was as of snapshot date, so but it's still relative to that same difference.
And we will, of course, if you have any additional questions for Hunter, but we'll dig into this even more next month as Amy kind of presents it and applies local policy. And then if there are questions, as we dig into that more next month, then we'll absolutely have the opportunity to talk about it. Very good.
Anything else? We appreciate you presenting for us.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it very much.
That'll bring us to item 4, receive a report regarding mid-year progress on the CSISD strategic plan. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. Dworak and board members. Also at the DEIC meeting last week, I know that they were provided kind of a brief mid-year update as far as progress on our strategic plan. So we have Dr. Hickman, Ms. Parkinson, and Dr. Perry is going to tag team this and kind of review the 6 goals and the specific results we identified for this year, again, year 2 of our strategic plan, and just kind of give us an overview and an update as to where we are currently. We're saying mid-year, but I need to remind you it's November. So you're going to see some items that have moved along fairly well with, and some that we have not accomplished much of anything with at this point in time. But we're still kind of early in the year. But just an update to the board, low progress monitoring, we thought would be a good presentation and conversation. So with that, I'll turn things over. I think, Ms. Parkinson, you're kicking things off for us, correct?
Yes, sir. Good evening once again. We're excited to share the great work that we have accomplished this year so far regarding our strategic plan within CSISD. And just as a quick reminder, the Strategic Design Framework was created by a large committee in the spring of 2021, in addition to revising our vision and some of our portraits of learners and so forth. This team also created our strategic goals, and these 6 goals really are the backbone of this work. These are lofty and aspirational goals that will take us multiple years to achieve. We are looking toward the next 3 to 5 years, and many of these will need to continue after that even to be fully maximized. So I want us to keep that in mind whenever we're looking at these goals, that we are not seeking to achieve all of this work this year, but we will make great strides toward that. I'd also like to remind everyone that our strategic plan is our district improvement plan. As you see the formatting of that district improvement plan, we begin with that goal in mind, as well as the specific results that were also framed by that initial design team. And those specific results are things that need to happen in order for us to be able to achieve our overarching larger goals. What we want to accomplish this year are really listed there in white in those strategies and action steps. And so that's really what we're after this year. And I had shared previously with you all via transmittal the document as it is formatted in this way. And so we're not going to read through the plan itself to you this evening, however. We also, as Mr. Martinell noted, gave the November District Improvement Plan Progress Monitoring check-in at our last DEIC meeting just last week. As we go through each of these action steps for this year and highlight some of those key things, you'll notice that we use these same monitoring symbols throughout. It is only November. We do not have green check marks, nor should we. If we, it would indicate that we had not set our eyes high enough on the prize, if you will. And so we will see mostly some progress. There are a couple of areas where we do not have any progress, and we have reasons why, and we can tell you what work is on the horizon in those areas as we work our way through as well. So with all of that, this is our project for year one. So goal one is focused on enhancing those effective instructional practices by implementing innovative and personalized learning experiences for our students and also for our educators. So with our first specific result, we are really focusing in on addressing distinct learning needs, interests, aspirations, and cultural backgrounds of all learners. And as you can see, we've made some progress. I would even argue significant progress in this area. The action steps here are really focused in on our campuses and the work that they are doing around the framework for success. And I will highlight a few of those activities here in a moment as well. For specific results 1.2, we're looking at creating a system of personalized learning for all educators. And that is not something that can happen overnight. We're taking those first steps toward being able to do that through our action step this year. This is one of the specific results that we brought forward for this year that was not something that we worked on last year. That I wanted to point that out as well. A lot of our work in this area really is about getting the infrastructure, if you will, the systems behind the scene, such as building the professional learning system within PowerSchool, looking for ways we can support our teachers in their individual T-test goals, and then working with our principals within the leadership definition as well. And our third specific result in this goal area is individualized goal setting and progress monitoring for our students. But we are unable to achieve that specific result until we have a great understanding across our campus administration of what data we have and what we're able to do with it. And so that's really our starting point in the work in that area as well. So here are some highlights of the great work that has happened so far. As I mentioned, specific results 1.1 is really about what our campuses are doing in implementing the framework for success. The framework for success is not just that brightly colored logo. Each of these comes with educator and learner protocols and are linked with instructional best practices to help us better serve our students. And so each of our 19 campuses has identified one of these phases to really focus in on this year. And they are integrating this into their focus in a variety of ways. And so here are just a few examples from our campuses. At Spring Creek Elementary, they're focusing on Inspire. And they're using that weekly newsletter for different members of their faculty to share why they are inspired, how they inspire others, moments of inspiration from their weeks. And so that is an example of that. Cypress Grove is doing some work really in personalizing professional learning by having choice book clubs for their professional learning community work. And so that's represented there at the top of the slideshow. Whereas Welborn Middle School is also working on Engage, and you can see how they're focusing really on that best practice underneath that piece of the framework for success of standards alignment and really making sure that all of our learning that is happening in our classroom matches the depth and complexity at which the standards are supposed to be taught. And so, like I said, just a sampling, but it represents the wide array of things that are happening on our campuses related to their framework for success implementation. Additional highlights in this area, going back to that personalized professional learning, really Mr. Mann has made great strides in working on the PowerSchool professional learning system. This is the software where we are able to track our professional learning, set up our courses. Eventually we'll be able to use it for creating and housing different self-paced modules, linking things in from Schoology that are created there and so forth. And so really it's an important piece for us to be able to move the work forward. Additionally, throughout our district and our campus professional development, we provide choices. I'll give an example. In social studies recently, Ms. Rodriguez had a share fair type environment where various teachers signed up and shared their own expertise, and the other teachers in the audience got to pick what they went to. And so personalizing learning can be just that simple, having options available. Additionally, We are really working on leveraging our new leadership definition through our work and our individual goal setting and coaching with our principals. And so really they're getting that firsthand experience in what that personalized learning looks like for them through our principal collaboratives that we have, as well as their own one-on-one time with Stormy and myself as we work with them on their goals. And then finally in this area, we have a lot of information, and we are really excited that it is now housed under one umbrella in a tool called Performance Matters. And so if you see the picture here in the bottom right, that is a picture of the baseball card report. And just like the back of a baseball card, we can look at a lot of data sets for one student all in one place, ranging from star scores to absences to 6 weeks grades. And so it's a really powerful tool to take data sets from a lot of different places and look at them side by side and really hone in on a student's needs. And so we at this point have done all of our trainers sessions. All of our teachers are in the process of, if not already trained on accessing the robust reports and data available here within that system. Our next steps here will then be to really work with our principals on streamlining our data analysis processes and how we're using this information that we have. And then additionally, that specific result, 1.3, is about individual student goal setting. And so while as a district as a whole, we are not moving forward and making sure all 19 campuses have these going, our baseline is really using the data first. I did want to acknowledge that we do have some campuses who are innovators and early adopters who are really working with students on setting their own learning goals and helping kids track their own learning. And it's really exciting work to see that.
What grade level are those? I'm just curious.
So
Where are we
really
seeing
a
them?
lot of our elementaries in some of our intermediates primarily. And really they're using a lot of the great reporting that we see from NWA MAP and using that tool to really look at a certain area within it and the zones of proximal development and what is the just right next step for those students and helping them take ownership. Okay.
All right, I'm going to take over for goal 2. Let's see if I can. All right, so goal 2 is that CSISD will elevate the outcomes for our historically underperforming student groups. So the first specific result that we're going to look at under goal 2 is increasing student success by establishing a calibrated comprehensive MTSS program. So MTSS stands for multi-tiered systems of support. It's previously known as RTI, or response to intervention. The purpose of MTSS is really so that we identify gaps with students and we provide intervention that's targeted before we see those gaps widen. So it really is about identifying what we need to do so that our students don't get behind to begin with, and that if we have students who are behind, what we can do to get them caught up as quickly as possible. So you'll see we've got some progress noted on all of the items here for this specific result. We're working together to revise our handbooks associated with MTSS to make sure that those are calibrated across campuses and that they're being used, that they're reflective of the work that is being done on our campuses. The next specific result is increasing student achievement by implementing research-based best practices in Tier 1 instruction. So Tier 1 instruction is that differentiated everyday instruction that happens in the classroom. All of our students receive Tier 1 instruction every single day. And so our goal here is really just to continue improving upon the best practices that our teachers are using in their classrooms every single day. You can see there are a couple of these items where we've noted some progress because really what Tiffany just spoke about, that implementation of the framework of success and our content coordinators working toward visioning documents for each of our content areas. We also have a couple of upcoming projects that are noted on here as well. We will be working toward creating a curriculum management plan, which will encompass everything to do with curriculum and really be great about defining roles and responsibilities as it comes to implementing our curriculum, and then also aligning professional learning community protocols along with that, so that not only do we have our framework for success and our instructional best practices, but we also have protocols and frameworks in place to implement those on campuses. A few highlights of Goal 2. So I mentioned that we've been working on our MTSS handbooks. Currently, we have an elementary and a secondary MTSS handbook that were developed last year. So we have called together stakeholders from each one of the campuses to get their feedback on what's working, what's not working, what might we need to adjust or clarify in order to make that really be useful documents for our teachers on campuses. And then we also have really begun that work, and it is continual work in the school district of improving those Tier 1 instructional practices. Many of our campuses have designated professional learning communities during the school day so that their teachers have an opportunity to get together and really talk about instruction and data and what it is that needs to be happening in our classrooms specific to their classroom and their campus so that they're working to help their kids succeed. Those data discussions have been quite targeted, especially with that addition of performance matters, which Tiffany just spoke about. And then I also want to highlight just planning for small group instruction. When we talk about instructional best practices, many of our campuses selected small group instruction as the best practice that they wanted to focus on this year. And so while we have traditionally had small group instruction in our elementary campuses, we have definitely seen that move into our intermediate level and even into our middle school level this year. So we're really moving forward toward that idea of making sure every single student gets what they need instructionally and knowing that small group is one thing that we can leverage in order to make sure all students are supported.
All right, Goal 3 is focusing on enriching students' school experiences by strengthening relationships between students, staff, and families. And so with specific result 3.1, we're focusing on training and ongoing support for staff and promoting positive relationships, which begins by determining what support is needed in this area. And then based on those needs, exploring and identifying potential training opportunities for promoting those positive relationships. And really, Mrs. Hester and the counselors have taken the lead in this area, and I'll tell you a little bit about their work here in a moment. For specific result 3.3, we're also wanting to promote an engaging relationship between the school district and the outside community. This really is asking our campuses to take action to go out and engage stakeholders off campus in a different setting, and also by participating in community service and allowing our students an opportunity to give back to the greater community at large, as well as making sure that we are sharing these community outreach activities and service projects through social media and other channels to make sure that people are aware that these things are happening. So as far as the highlights of our progress so far, as I mentioned, Mrs. Hester and the counselors are creating flexible training options, not only for our educators, but also to have available for families in ways that they can support their students in recognizing and some of the issues of the day, such as dealing with stress and anxiety and peer pressure and those types of things. And so that is in the works. In addition, we have a plethora of events and always have where we welcome folks to our school community, such as our fall carnival events on campuses. But really this goal is about expanding that to going out and pushing into the community. So for example, our early childhood programs all came together at College Station High School to hold their second annual early childhood multicultural night. And in that time, the participation grew exponentially. It was a huge event, very well attended and very well celebrated by our families in the early childhood programs here. Additionally, Riverbend here is hosting an event geared toward families and really helping them understand how they can support their students as learners, both academically and socially and emotionally. And then just today, Consol had their Consol Cares event where 250 of our high school students actually left the building today and went throughout our community, serving in places from Scotty's house to other elementary schools and so forth, to really have that opportunity to understand what service is and how they can benefit others. And so it's really exciting. I was just looking at some pictures before the workshop began. So I would encourage you to check social media, and we'll be sharing some of those via Transmittal this week as well, highlighting that awesome event that happened today.
So that's my kid. One of my kiddos did that today, and she loved it. And she has a new appreciation for. She went to elementary school, and she has a new appreciation for pre-K teachers. Like huge.
Yes, indeed. And I, the impetus behind all of this is to have a new appreciation for all the different facets of our community and to be exposed to different things that they may not have otherwise. So that's
Right.
awesome.
She loved it.
Okay. Goal 4 is about focusing on cultivating and strengthening intentional partnerships with businesses, community organizations, and higher education agencies. And so in this area, we have made some progress, and this is one of those goals where we have plans to really focus our work now that the TRE has passed, and to move forward on this work. So we do have a lot of existing community partnerships. So at this point, we have a really nice draft list of what we are aware of. And I'm kind of jumping to the highlights, so I'll move to the next thing. As well as for 4.2, the specific results about identifying needs of various groups within CSISD. That's our next step. We have the draft, as I said. We know what we from our centralized location understand that we have, but we want to first start with surveying our campuses to get a little bit more input to make sure that we know all of the partnerships that they have as well. Also to identify their needs for future partnerships, and then reach out to our community organizations to see how we can help them and benefit them as well. And so, so Chuck is really taking the lead in this area and working on these things as we move forward. We're also exploring a lot of future opportunities. Just last night at the Chamber of Commerce banquet, Dr. Banks talked about Texas A&M University's desire to have a stronger community connection and partnership. And we are really excited about some additional conversations that we have been able to have that we're not really ready to share publicly, but they go above and beyond even the things that you are seeing here on the screen. But I would be remiss if I didn't point these awesome opportunities that exist already. Mr. Mann has been working with the Texas A&M School of Education for professional learning opportunities. The top class courses that are featured there are focused on leadership development, and we're using those for the assistance in personalizing our learning for our principals and our assistant principals. They also have Project Moople, which is really geared at teachers improving their practice. And so that's an exciting opportunity. Every year we partner with the other high schools in our community, Bryan ISD and so forth, for Brazos Valley College and Career Night. And so that is an exciting way for our students to see their futures and plan forward. Additionally, as you know, we expanded the programs at College View High School within the academy system. 2 of those brand new partnerships are featured here. The Texas A&M Hotel and Conference Center partnership for our students who are in our hospitality program. More than half of them are employed by the hotel. I believe I shared that previously. I learned last week that 2 of them are already up for being a manager. Additionally, we do have students attending classes out at the Blinn College Rullis campus in our Facilities Engineering Technology program, where they're getting to have those hands-on experiences there as well. Okay.
All right. So thanks to the support of our College Station ISD voters in the bond propositions of November 2021, we've made really very significant progress in a lot of areas within Goal 5 to improve our technology ecosystem, both by increasing access to devices with our staff and our students, as well as strengthening the infrastructure and improving that safe and secure digital learning environment. So looking at Goal 5, specific result 5.1 really focuses on increasing devices in the classroom. And that was really the intent of Proposition B in that November 21 bond. With the passage of over $4.5 million, we have been able to expend already about 70% of that on both teacher and student devices. That equates to about 2,800 additional laptops for our students in our classrooms, as well as transitioning from desktops for the first time to all of our teachers having a laptop. And we are almost complete on that deployment. We're doing that concurrent with the upgraded smart panels that are happening across our campuses. We just have a couple more to go, and then we'll finish up this summer with Southwood Valley once we complete those renovations in the additional classrooms there. So lots more devices, and we'll continue to purchase those and expend those funds. You might notice that that multi-year purchase plan notes some progress, and that's because we've really focused these first efforts on creating a system where we have one device for every 2 students, and getting to a point where that is really equitable across our campuses. Our next steps will be to really look towards the future. We had relied on 2015 bonds primarily previous to this bond, and so this has been very, very helpful in getting us back where we need to be or further towards it. 5.2 really focuses on the infrastructure, the things that you don't necessarily see inside of the classroom, but make those devices work, right? Having the Wi-Fi available, making sure that we have the network area storage, and those funds were coming from Proposition A that included about $12.3 million for the things that I mentioned here, as well as those smart panels. We've expended about half of those dollars already, and included in that are an upgraded firewall and filter. We are working on upgrading our network switches, our servers at the campus level, as well as increasing our storage area network. We have ordered many additional Wi-Fi access points so that we can increase that availability of Wi-Fi as we put more demand on that system with the increase in devices. Unfortunately, supply chain is holding us up on that one a little bit, but we are expecting those to be in by the end of the school year. Also, not mentioned here, but will be included in this component is upgrades to our AV systems. The third specific result within Goal 5 that we're focusing on this year is really about safety and security. We know that school districts are increasingly becoming rich targets, not only because of the financial information that we have, but also the staff and student data that we hold. And so it is very, very important to us that we're doing everything we can to improve not only our hardening of the target from that firewall and filtering standpoint that I mentioned already, but also human behavior. And we do require annual training for cybersecurity, but we also, in this last year, have engaged a third-party cybersecurity expert to help us with improving student behavior staff behavior when it comes to recognizing things that are risky. And so we actually do conduct monthly phishing tests of about 20% of our employees. If they click the email that they shouldn't be clicking, they get immediate feedback about why they should not have clicked it and what could have happened as a result. And if they click it, then they automatically get retested the next month. And so that we have noticed is really showing some improvements as well. And I know I'm not privy to say whether Mr. Martindale has clicked the email. And with that, some highlights from Goal 5 mentioned the 2 propositions that we are working from to be able to fund all of the improvements that I've mentioned with infrastructure replacements as well as upgrades to the network and the firewall and filtering. Those audiovisual equipments are coming. The smart panels are very close to being complete, and those Wi-Fi improvements are on the horizon as well. The devices are flowing in, and we'll continue to be purchasing specifically some iPads and upgrading some of our labs. The 854 is the number of smart panels that we have ordered and are installing. And then you can see the information there about the student and teacher laptops as well.
Back to me. All right, I am going to talk to you about Goal 6. This is the final goal for us to talk about tonight, and it is about transforming learners' experiences through integrating instructional technology so that it augments the teaching and learning process. I think our key word in Goal 6 is integration. Okay, so it's taking all the hardware and equipment that Molly just spoke about in Goal 5 and making sure that it has an instructional impact. Our first specific result is establishing and utilizing a comprehensive instructional technology plan for teachers and staff. The real focus for us this year on that is to go in and observe and see how technology is being used in our classrooms. We use something called the SAMR model. It stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Kind of a mouthful, so we'll stick with SAMR. We initially started with our digital learning coordinator last year, going into classrooms with principals just to look through the lens of that model to see how technology was being integrated into lessons. We actually, in our work last year with our principals where we revamped our walkthrough form, included SAMR as part of that form. So each time a principal or assistant principal goes into a classroom, they are looking just to see what our level of integration is for technology so that we can have that information to know what our next steps will be to go forward. Our next specific result is creating, and did you have a question? I felt it coming.
I was just on the SAMR acronym.
Yes.
What do you, from a practical standpoint, substitution, what does that
Sure.
mean?
So it goes in order from substitution would be like I can take a worksheet and put it on the computer and it's still a worksheet. Okay, so that would be substitution that goes all the way through, like we're redefining the way that we're providing instruction for students so that technology is seamlessly integrated in the work that they're doing. Does that help?
It does. What about the other four?
Okay. Augmentation would be where it is like providing support. So we're supporting the instruction with the technology. Modification is that piece in between where we're supporting it, but we're not quite to the place where we're totally revamping everything that we're doing with that redefinition in mind. I don't have the specific definitions in front of me, but I'd be glad to share them.
I was just trying to think of examples.
It's that good. It's the linear balance between. It's very easy to. I think whenever we first start with technology with any teacher, it's easy to say, I have my worksheet and now it's on the computer. Look at me using technology. But really, is that the thing that is making it a seamless integration? So that ultimate redefinition is where we're hoping to get.
Can I follow up on that? I was just curious, like particularly in the walkthroughs and when y'all were looking out and gathering what's happening, is there a piece of that that's also looking at maybe more on a quantity, on the time on technology? I mean, because I can see, you know, you want to move up the scale to the redefinition, but also, I mean, how are we looking at the percentage of time a kid's spending on a device as opposed to not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that we have a specific measure for the amount of time that a student is spending on with a technology device. However, each of our walkthroughs do have a narrative section where we can, like, the principal or whomever is doing the walkthrough can designate how the technology is being used and sometimes it's by how many students. So it may be that some students are working specifically with the teacher at the teacher table from my elementary lens, while others are working using a technology program for some specific intervention or targeted instruction. So I don't know that we have the quantified, but we do have more information than just a checkbox with SAMR, if that answers your question. Anything else about SAMR before we go on?
I'll just be clear that one of the concerns that I hear from a lot of parents is, right, that we use too much technology. So, that, you know, it's not, it's like finding that balance point. Right,
absolutely. And I also think that, you know, key word is integration here, right? So that we should not be using technology for technology's sake. We should be using technology in ways that really enhance instruction and are teaching our students whenever they leave our system ways that technology can be useful and helpful to them as opposed to technology for technology's sake. So that really seamless integration is what we're working toward. So that we hear that concern as well. All right, 6.2 is about creating and implementing a comprehensive instructional technology plan for students at all levels. We do have technology application TEKs for the 23-24 school year, and what we would like to do with that theme of integration here is find ways that we can teach those TEKs integrated with our other content areas as much as possible, so that it's not technology as a standalone. So we're able to make sure all of our students are receiving instruction on how to use technology appropriately and well, while also using that to supplement their learning. We're also working to update our district level resources for digital citizenship and creating campus-based plans for K-12 digital citizenship so that each of our students are receiving appropriate instruction to their age and grade. And then finally, providing sufficient instructional technology, resources, and support. So we can have lots of resources, but if we don't have the support associated with them, then we run the risk of them not being utilized to their full potential. So this is an important goal that our instructional technology staff of both our digital learning coordinator and our instructional technology specialist work toward every single day with our teachers. They have been providing training on these new interactive panels to all of our teachers. So this is where I would give a shout out to Lauren Finkner, who is our instructional technology specialist, who has personally gone to every single campus the week that their smart panels are installed and conducted trainings and worked one-on-one with teachers and done everything to make sure that teachers are comfortable as possible with this new technology that's coming in their classroom. So this is really about providing support for the many resources that we have. A few highlights here again. Well, I'll start with our new digital learning coordinator. So Natalie Vela, you guys approved her hire back in October. So Natalie's been with us about 3 weeks now. She is really working to understand both the resources that we have in place and also our current status as far as technology integration goes, so that she can help us look toward what we need to do next steps moving forward. As part of that, she is collaborating with our content coordinators so that we have that integration of technology into each of our content areas, so that it is technology that is really redefining our instruction as opposed to simply substituting for the way that perhaps we used to do things before technology. She and our curriculum coordinators are also reviewing resources and how accessible they are to teachers. This is one of those things where we can have all the resources in the world, but if they're difficult to find or difficult to log into or difficult for students, then we're not fully utilizing them. And so we are continuing to do that review so that we can make sure that our resources are really accessible. And then finally, that smart panel installation. We've talked a lot about that tonight already because we're excited that we are almost done with those smart panel installations. And our teachers are really able to use those panels not just as a teacher tool, but as a student tool as well.
So in closing, we wanted to share some of the feedback from our District Education Improvement Council from last week whenever they saw a version of the same overview here. One of our teachers said that this has laid the path for the focus around the district and ensuring campuses are working together for a goal. Talk about affirmation. But I'll continue and share the other highlights here. All the work we are doing as a campus is directly connected to the district improvement plan, another teacher noted. A third teacher shared, I think the DIP has shaped the work of the district this year with technology and getting campuses up to par with the amount of technology, and I appreciate it. And so from 3 of the educators in the room, they're really seeing how this plays out on their campuses, and really that was representative throughout the survey. I just didn't read the whole survey to you. We also have other folks on this committee. A fellow district administrator noted that how exciting it was to hear about the different things and the artifacts being gathered from the different campuses and how we are working and having evidence of that improvement of our educational programs for our kids. And then a community member was very impressed with how thorough the plan is and multifaceted there. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, and we are happy to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Question about Goal 5 with buying laptops, which I think is great and needed. Are we going to be able to get to a one-to-one ratio? Because if we've got, 24 students in a class and we've only got 21 laptops and then, one or two needs an update or what. So I'm just curious if that'll.
Right. So right now, in terms of the goal and the way that it's written, it's really designed to just increase that accessibility for our students. We've not set a specific goal in either the strategic plan or the long-range technology plan to say we are moving towards being a one-to-one district. We definitely want to have greater accessibility, and we know we have further to go than just the 1-to-2, but one-to-one has not been a specific goal for us at this point.
I'm glad you guys are getting more devices because I know that there's always, if you got one or two students in the class that doesn't have it, then they're left out. So
Yeah, ultimately, what we want to get to is if a teacher wants to plan a lesson that involves devices for their class, they're able to get that card and implement the lesson and not have to juggle that and schedule that out with other teachers and struggle to be able to access what they need for instructional
and that cart has
purpose.
enough for the
Exactly.
class, and then the added demand for how many people are on the network. So I'm glad to hear that that's being worked on too.
Yes.
And this may be kind of a follow-up question of Ms. McAdams and Dr. Payne, but and it's maybe a question about a problem that doesn't exist, but do we have that problem where kids don't have access to technology when they need it?
So I think that problem is very much why we see Goal 5 reflected in our strategic plan. And just for context, when in spring of 21, we were working through this process, it came up time and time again as we gathered feedback from not only our community, but also our teachers that access to devices was a real challenge. Part of that was because the last bond that had really supported additional devices had been about 6 years prior. And so not only had we expended those funds, but the devices that we had purchased with those funds early on after the passage of the bond had started to roll off in terms of their lifetime. And so it really was at the forefront of our thinking with our teachers and with our staff due to the timing of that relative to funding. And so we've made great strides already. And I would anticipate that, in the future, as we work on that long-range purchase plan, we'll definitely want to make sure that not only can we replace the devices that we now have in place, but also that we can continue to make sure that those are accessible, especially as we continue to move towards more online testing. If you'll recall, this year, all of our students will be testing online for state assessment as well.
But I mean, would you say it's a problem that we haven't reached that point? Or, I mean, is something else as the board that we may need to look into or do to kind of speed that process along? Or is it a goal we're striving for, but it's not a huge issue that is affecting the teachers and the students?
I would say that it is less impactful than it was a year ago, prior to being able to start purchasing large numbers of additional devices. But many would say we do need to continue to do more. As I mentioned, we've expended about 70% of those funds, and so we're not done just yet. But it's always because of the length of time that a device is useful, shelf life, if you will. We always have to continue to make sure that we have the capacity to replace and to continue to ensure that we have good accessibility.
So I think, Josh, I think our ratio is improving. It's obviously not one-to-one and we're far from it, and we can continue to work on it with our bond funds. I think now is access to technology for our teachers a problem. I don't think that they can necessarily in all instances access it immediately. I think we are at a place where they can, but it may be a matter of signing up for the cart because there's not enough of them, or working their schedule so they can go to a lab because it may be occupied by other classes. So it's accessible, maybe not immediate, and do you have to plan around it because of our ratios? I think that's probably where we are from a classroom standpoint. I don't know if that answers your question or not. I know I can use my wife, for example. They have a lab that a number of them use. So can she just pick up and go down to the lab whenever she feels like it? No, she's got to check to see if the lab's available. So I think it's more right now we're at a place of they're available, but it's a scheduling mechanism too. In some instances, it may be a little bit better in some places than others.
I mean, it takes a little bit of work, but it's not stopping us from moving forward on that goal at this point.
I wouldn't think it's stopping us. I think it's just that we can improve upon it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm asking. As a same thing, married to an educator, if you get the card, it's got to have enough laptops, and then they all have to be working. So it's not a big deal if it's one or two, but then it is one or two students that doesn't have that. So yeah, I don't think it's detrimental, but it is a hiccup. That's why I'm asking.
And I would say too, if you'll recall in that specific result 5.2, as we work towards that multi-year purchase plan, I think we'll be able to provide much more information to you all as a board in terms of those identified needs and how we might be able to meet those in the future.
And I'll just add, I guess, one other piece of information that, because I do think it's an important question. One part of the question is, do we want to go to a one-to-one as a district? Is it, what are the pros and cons? Obviously, it's money is probably the biggest con. This came up in Education Foundation that over the last couple of years, one of the grants was to fund basically an experiment in a couple of classrooms for one-to-one devices. And I can't remember how many classrooms it was, but it was, it's significant. It's like 8 or so classrooms that are actually have one-to-one devices, and so using that and working to see, I think the goal is to see actually data and results from that experiment. So I don't know if you can.
It's the Education Foundation, will they buy devices? Because I believe they will not, correct?
It was a program that they helped supplement, yes, to have one-to-one in these.
To study it, but did they buy devices?
I think they funded some of the devices too, if I'm correct. Yeah,
Right, not all of
I
the
would just be
devices,
curious.
but
Some
they
of
were
them
able to
to-
supplement along with the teacher training component because like Stormy discussed in Goal 6, we can buy all of the devices in the world, but unless we're using them meaningfully, they're really not going to be the most bang for the buck as they could be.
Yeah, I agree. That was a good piece of it as well, that it was included the instructional training with it. I will be interested to see the results of that when, however long it takes to kind of get that feedback.
Anything else? Thank y'all for the report. That helps us understand where we're headed after being on that committee, so I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for continuing to work on it and give us updates on
Implement it.
it
That's the
as
big
well.
part.
Yep, exactly. Do the
All right, if there's no other questions, we will adjourn the workshop. Stone. He might. We'll see. That'll be fun. You know what they're calling it? They literally, that's what they're calling it. Yeah, sure. Dude, do you know how much we raised in 18 minutes to build this thing? And with yeah, exactly. Do you realize there's money? If the right guy is already available, because they've already put the feelers out, I guarantee you, if the right guy's available, that check will get struck. Oh, it's true. Yeah. Well, it's hard to because you know you wouldn't. Yeah, that's better. Oh yeah. That's true for letting go. Yep. Tom's about to get Jim's out of this meeting. Just more accuracy. We're just talking about a 90s movie. I didn't welcome everybody last time. Remember that? We didn't have a workshop. I just Martindale lifted me and was like, "Okay, we're going on." So, all right. All right, we're going to call our November board meeting. Woo! November board meeting to order. Declaration of a quorum, 7 members present. Welcome to this meeting of the College Station ISD Board of Trustees. We were elected at large to represent the interests of our community and our state in educating our students. Our mission for our students in this district is success each life, each day, each hour. We adhere to all pertinent laws, policies, and procedures in posting agendas and conducting our meetings. The detailed agenda information was made available to us at least 72 hours in advance, and we have all come to this meeting informed and prepared. We've just completed a workshop meeting where we heard reports and discussed much of the information needed to make decisions in either this meeting or in upcoming meetings. This is a meeting of the 7 trustees in a public setting rather than a public meeting. As such, public comment is included on the agenda at a specific time and requires us to listen rather than take action so as to abide by the Open Meetings Act. We are pleased that you have taken time this evening to join us. We are very proud of this school district. We thank you for your interest in and support of our students. That will bring us to item C, recognitions. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. White, and board members. You guys will join us around front. We'll begin our meeting with our pledges and our moment of silence. And we have students here from College Hills and Pebble Creek that are going to help us out with this evening. Our principals, Ms. Blair Grande and Josh Hatfield. So I don't know if you are introducing. I bet the students are introducing themselves.
They are.
Come on up, guys.
Good evening, everyone. I am Blair Grande, the very proud principal of Pebble Creek Elementary, and I have 2 fabulous Panthers who are going to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Ellie Kiesling.
I'm Lincoln Noble, and I'm 9 years old, and I go to Pebble Creek Elementary. I'm in 4th grade, and some of the things I enjoy are sports, basketball, and history. My favorite thing about Pebble Creek Elementary is how they make morning assembly, where we do all the morning announcements. So fun. It's funny how they do all these crazy songs and videos, and it's really enjoyable.
I'm in 4th grade as well. I'm 9 years old. And a couple things I love about Pebble Creek are that they have choir again, and they have StuCo, which is student council. There's a bunch of like meetings every month. Yeah, about every month. So, and wait. Some of my interests are swimming and annoying my brother.
Love that. All right, welcome. I'm Josh Hatfield, very proud principal of College Hills Elementary. And this morning I brought a couple of our Tigerific Tiger Cubs here with us this morning, Addie Kelly and Jason Hernandez, and they're going to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Addie, and I'm an avid ambassador in College Hills. And the one thing I love about being an avid ambassador is greeting my friends and opening car doors.
Hello, my name is Jason Hernandez. I'm a Team Roar member, and one thing I love about Team Roar is making projects to welcome new students.
Everybody, can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. We're going to do it together. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Texas flag. On Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Now for the moment of silence. Thank
you. Wait, guys, stay for a picture. Round of applause for our students. They did a wonderful job. Absolutely. Wait, whoa.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Wonderful job. Mr. Torak, we'll move to C2. We have some student recognitions tonight from our college board. Mr. Glenwickle is going to assist us. And students, as Mr. Glenwickle calls your name, if you will meet me on the far side, I'll receive your certificate, and that'll be a photo op for you as well. And if you will take a moment and let the board congratulate you and shake their hand. So, Mr. Glenwickle.
Thank you, Mr. Martindale, Mr. Horak, members of the board, and our distinguished guest. It is my honor to recognize more students who excelled on college entrance exams. In addition to the National Merit semifinalists and student recognized with a letter of commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Program, 41 students were presented a National Scholar Award from the College Board. The College Board National Recognition Program Scholars, based on academic achievements and outstanding performance on the PSAT and or AP exams, these students are recognized in the categories of National African American Scholar, National Hispanic Scholar, and National Indigenous Scholar. The College Board National Recognition Program create pathways to college for underrepresented students by awarding them academic honors and connecting them with universities across the country. When I call your name, please come forward to be recognized by the board. Famisukan Adisamoye. Alexa Ayala. Madison Birmingham. Naomi Bonatti. Kenjiro Cabrera. Jordan Carter. Sean Castillo. Elizabeth Castro. Heaven Ford. Valeria Gallego. Fernanda Garcia Avalos. Sofia Gareba. Cedric Gonzalez. Abraham Guillen. Casey Hawkins. Celista Hernandez. Alan Kochmild. Augustine Leopez Saborio. Ethan Levy. Angelina Lopez. Rosemarie Marden. Gabriela Mendoza. Sorry, that's Gabriel Mendoza. Felicia Morales. Elizabeth Morton. Anya Patel. Jaden Patel. Sydney Perez. Maya Quiroz. Angel Rangel. Ricardo Salias. Luke Salmon. Hannah Sanchez Ausick. Leanna Schubert. Emily Schaefer. Noah Sherman. Nicholas Stack. Rafael Tejada. Abigail Tesfa Michael. Waylon Trejo. Anthony Vasquez. And Kentaro Yamauchi. Congratulations to these students, but also this is a family award. This takes lots of time and effort throughout the year. So if you're a family member of one of these students, please rise also and be recognized. Mr. Martindale, that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
All right, that'll bring us to item C3. We'd like to recognize the artwork there at the back of our boardroom. Those are from the kiddos there at College Hills and Pebble Creek Elementary Schools. So make sure you take a look at those and see the talents that we have across our district, especially at those two schools. That'll bring us to item D, board reports. Anyone want to start us off?
Okay, I'll go first. I have two. First, an exciting one. Tomorrow is Education Foundation Grant Patrol. So I know a number of us will be out there doing that. It's a very fun half a day out at all the schools because every campus will be getting a teacher grant this year, and there'll be 64 total grants totaling over $300,000, $302.88 or $302,088. There we go. Which also is a milestone. I'm reporting that now when those are awarded, that'll be over $2 million in teacher grants that the Education Foundation has awarded over the years of its existence. So that's a very exciting day tomorrow. And then my other one is Shaq, met last night. And I think you mentioned last time that Shaq is kind of regrouping a little bit this year, working on redoing some, actually creating some bylaws. We're not sure there are any official bylaws. I mean, there are some rules that govern it based on policy, but want to get some more specific bylaws. And then also really working to expand participation, and particularly with our parents. SHAC is is required to be 50% parents on that committee, and we have not had quite that participation over the last year. So working with the PTOs and the campuses, you guys out there helping us hopefully to recruit some parents from hopefully even all of our schools that are interested in being part of that health advisory committee. So we talked about that part last night, and then we also got a really great update on our counselors from Ms. Ahmad from College Station High School, just kind of giving us a picture of what they've seen from the counselors over the last few months at the different campuses, and the things that they're dealing with that maybe our SHAC would need to kind of address. Some of them are the normal stuff, but it changes a little bit by grade level. And I think that it was nice. She ended on one positive that there are obviously lots of issues that our counselors are dealing with on a regular basis, but we have a great team out there, and that also there just seems to be more of an acceptance from the students and the parents to really come to the counselors and open up when they do have issues, right? Bring those forward. So that was a nice positive way to end that presentation. So those are my updates.
Okay, I will report for Head Start Policy Council. Last month they had their multicultural event at CSHS, and they had over 400 people attend. So that's pretty good. Lots of learning, lots of mingling, lots of participation. Always happy to hear those kinds of numbers. And then intergovernmental, do you want me to do that one? Okay. And we met yesterday with Intergovernmental Committee, and we heard a report on an update on Rellis Campus, all the new things that are out there, all the money that's out there, and opportunities. It's really cool. And I myself have not been out to Rellis, but I think I need to make a trip. I need to find an excuse to get out there because it sounds pretty cool.
Don't wander off in a restricted area.
Right. Although I mean, yeah.
The District Education Improvement Council met last Wednesday. It was nice and refreshing to have Dr. Perry report for the superintendent. Nice and concise. Under 2 minutes, might I add. And then we did the District Education Improvement Progress Report, which was very similar if you were at the workshop, review of that. And then we continued calendar work with Ms. Parkerson, with hopefully, as presented in the workshop, that we will send it out to the community and parents and families to vote on, and then hopefully the board will take action in January on the 2023-24 calendar.
PAC did not meet. Was that concise enough for you?
No. Okay. You shouldn't have spoken.
Anything else? Let it be noted, we will hold Mr. Hall to 5 seconds on his reports from here on out. That'll bring us to superintendent report. Mr. Martindale, follow that.
Take as long as you need.
I have nothing. Thank you, Mr. Warwick. No, I want to start first by taking just a moment to make sure and express our appreciation as a district, and I know that all of our employees in our school district will echo this. Our appreciation and how grateful we are for the support of the taxpayers in this community in approving the TRE last November. And the revenue generated from the passage of that TRE will be passed on to our employees through increased compensation. They have all received communication about how we will move through December and January and make those adjustments. But you don't have a strong school district without the support of a strong community, and you don't have a strong community without a strong school district. So we're just very appreciative for their support and do not take that lightly. And that will continue to drive us and motivate us in the future to do the very best to serve our community and the children of it. So again, thank you to our taxpayers for their support in passing the TRE. Also, earlier workshop, we heard from our demographer, which provided us our fall update. We'll take that information, utilize local policy FC at the December meeting to, again, take those enrollment projections. The demographer provides us a 10-year projection. We'll utilize 5 years and apply that to our facilities. That information helps us plan for the future and any needs that we may need or adjustments we may need as we look out into the upcoming years. Also, later on the agenda, we'll be asking board's approval and consent. Actually, this is not consent. It'll be under facilities. The purchase or approval of some work to our security vestibules at our elementary and intermediate schools. That's a part of our November 21 bond where we had some funds earmarked for safety. So that's something we're looking forward to get moving on with that particular agenda item. As Mr. Hall mentioned, and this was in workshop as well, DEIC has begun work on 23-24 calendar. We'll be looking for community and stakeholder feedback in December and hope to bring something to the board to consider as early as January. And as Ms. McAdams mentioned, and congratulations to Ms. Benton and her group for meeting and exceeding that $2 million marker in teacher grants. That's a huge accomplishment. And thank you very much and your team and of course support of the community in making that happen. So just a few items or celebrations. Again, you probably know, and I believe we'll have this group at the next board meeting for recognition, but the vet science team from Consol finished second in the nation. So kudos to the folks, that's second in the nation, not state or region, that's in the nation. Congratulations to those folks. The cross-country team, the girls cross-country team from College Station High School finished third, the bronze medal in Round Rock a few weekends ago. Last Wednesday, we did have 13 of our student athletes sign letters of intent to continue to compete at the collegiate level. And good luck to both Tiger and Cougar football that continues in the second round of playoffs this next Friday. So lots of great stuff going on. Our kids continue to accomplish things throughout in all arenas of the school district. So.
All right. That'll bring us to item E, hearing of citizens. Do we have any cards? No cards today. That'll bring us to item F, consent agenda. Those items will be item G, item J1 through J7. And that is all.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hall, a second by Dr. Payne. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. That'll bring us to item H. H1, receive a report on the 21-22 birth to 5 Head Start self-assessment for College Station ISD. Mr. Martineau.
Thank you, Mr. Horak and board members. We have our Director of Early Education, Ms. Shelley Rice, here to present us with it's our monthly program report, but it's a required annual report from birth to 5 Head Start. So she's going to provide us an overview or program overview. All of this information she's fixing to share with you is really from the self-assessment. So after she provides the program report, then I know on H2, the next agenda item, she'll be asking for formal board approval of that self-assessment. So with our program report, Shelley.
Okay. Mr. Horak, Mr. Martineau, the rest of the board, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share our self-assessment from last year. Tonight, I'm going to just go over a brief description of our program, the scope, the budget, and staffing, major goals that we have in our program, some performance data, some challenges, some opportunities, and finally end with some celebrations. Our Birth to 5 Head Start program is federally funded through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Our Early Head Start program serves 70 families, birth to age 3, and also includes expectant mothers. our campus-based Head Start program is for 221 families, and we serve children ages 3 to 5 in campus-based Head Start. To be eligible for our Head Start or Early Head Start programs, the family must meet the Health and Human Services poverty guidelines, and we do have priority eligibility for certain families. If a child is in foster care, a family receives public assistance like SSI, TANF, SNAP, or if a family is homeless. Our budget for last year was $2.9 million, a little over that. In federal funding, we had $2,326,262, and our non-federal funds, or our federal match, was almost $575,000, and those are in-kind services provided by the district. Also, additional funds that we got last year, we had funds from the American Rescue Plan of almost $350,000. We had COVID funds from the Office of Head Start of $87,852, and we were awarded a transportation grant of $240,000. This is an overview of our staff. We have 6 early Head Start parent educators that go into the homes and work with the families, 13 Head Start teachers and 13 Head Start teaching assistants, 6 Head Start family advocates that work directly with families and act kind of in a social work capacity. We also, in early education services, have 14 pre-K teachers and 14 pre-K teaching assistants. At the Barbara Bush Center, we have 2 early Head Start staff members that work there. And in our central office, we have 4 education support staff members and 7 education specialists here, early education specialists, and 1 director. And the number of students we were able to serve last year, in Head Start, we were able to serve 247. Early Head Start was 94 families with 10 expectant mothers. And we had 30 students that were on the waiting list at the end of the year. And typically students on our waiting list are 3-year-olds where there was not a spot available for them, or a family that requested a certain campus where there may not have been a spot available during the year. And there's a federal mandate that 10% of our enrollment must be students with special needs. And last year we were able to serve 33 students, which is 13% of our program enrollment. And in pre-K we served 269 students. Now just a quick look at our 2 goals that we have. Our first goal is children will show improved academic outcomes through consistent and on-time attendance at school and home visits. And this aligns with the CSISD Strategic Design Goal 3 of that we will enrich student school experiences by strengthening relationships between students, staff, and families. And one of the expected outcomes has to deal with students being on their home campus. So we want to increase the percentage of students served on their zone campus by 5% each year. And you can see in the 3 years that we've been tracking this data, we've been able to meet that goal with last year 80% of our students were located on their home campus. And another expected outcome that deals with attendance is we want to have a program average monthly attendance of 90% or greater. And last year, Head Start's average daily attendance was 81%, and home visit completion rate for early Head Start was 77%. Another outcome for family engagement is we would like 75% of our families to participate in program activities. And we had 59% of Head Start and 51% of early Head Start families that were able to participate in family engagement opportunities. And goal 2 is children will be school ready at their time of transition into campus-based Head Start and into kindergarten. And this aligns with the district strategic design goal 2 of we will elevate academic outcomes of historically underperforming student groups. And since 100% of our students are in the low income student group, low socioeconomic, our programs serve 100% of students in the historically underperforming student groups. Goal 2 deals with instructional. We'll start with the instructional part. Head Start has program performance standards that we must follow. And this one deals with we have to have a scientifically research-based curriculum, and our teachers and staff must be trained on that curriculum, and it must meet the Head Start Early Learning Outcomes Framework, and it also has to meet the TEA High Quality Pre-K guidelines. And in 2021, at the end of the year, we adopted a new curriculum, and we were able to implement that last year. So our teachers are implementing that with fidelity, and they were trained all together by the curriculum, the people that created the curriculum, and it meets all the high quality pre-K standards and Head Start standards. And another program performance standards is that we must implement a research-based coaching model that aligns with our school readiness goals, curricula, and approaches to staff development. And so last year, our Head Start staff received 224 hours of coaching and/or mentoring from our educational and instructional specialists. And here we have some data that is from our progress monitoring that we do 3 times a year. And the expected outcome is that we want 75% of Head Start students to be on track at the end of the year in phonological awareness. And we have 4 years of data here because we wanted to show the students pre-COVID, and then the 2 years in the middle are the COVID years, and the last one is last year when we started to come back. And you can see that we're not back up to where we were pre-COVID, but at the beginning of last year, we had 50% that were on track in phonological awareness, and by the end, you can see 76% were on track. So it's you know, we met the goal in that. And the same outcome by the end of the year for math is we have the same 4 years of data, and you can see there wasn't as much gain last year from beginning of the end of the year, but we did show gain. And we, again, you know, are trying to get back up to the pre-COVID numbers. Just a few challenges that our program has is that we may never be 100% of students on their home campus because they're centralized special education programs and bilingual programs that determined what campus the students are placed on. And program attendance and family engagement participation were affected with waves of illness throughout the year. And our youngest students missed a significant amount of social and emotional interactions before they enrolled in school as 3- and 4-year-olds due to the pandemic. And opportunities. One of the things that was mentioned to us in our review from the federal government was we needed a parenting curriculum that was aligned with what was being taught in our classrooms. And we have been able to implement that parenting curriculum that ties the social and emotional learning being taught in the classrooms with what we teach the parents to use in the home. We're providing staff training on language development, phonological awareness, and social emotional learning. And we're building connections with families and the community to help increase parent engagement and things like our family culture night. And to finally end with some celebrations, we had no findings from the program review from the Office of Head Start program-wide, so that was great. We were able to add a bilingual counselor to help serve the mental wellness needs of our Spanish-speaking students and their families. And family engagement activities reopened on the campus and on a district level. So that's really big for us. And so, any comments or questions? Anything?
I Actually, I do have two questions.
Okay.
First, you gave us the numbers, and are you seeing a decline in the number of students applying or the number of students that you're serving?
We are not. We are actually seeing an increase.
Okay, because with the demographer earlier, they said that we're seeing a decline in the kindergarten, but not with this.
We
not
are not.
with your program.
We have maintained an enrollment of between the three programs of about 500
Wow.
for the last couple of months.
Wow. Okay, well that's good. And then my next question, actually, you usually ask this kind of question, but I'm gonna ask it tonight. If we had a magic wand.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a magic wand, because we've talked about.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I know we've talked about the home
Think this
campus.
through, Miss Rice.
Right, I know.
I know. I'm trying. I'm not gonna set her up for anything. We've talked about. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay, I am. So we've talked about the home campus being important, but have you guys talked about if it would be beneficial to have like an early Head Start campus that all of Head Start could be on, and if we had a magic wand.
Yes,
with
the magic
that-
wand lottery winning ticket.
I mean, is it something that would be helpful? Is that
Ms. Rice, did someone else ask you that question not too long
It
ago?
must have been the great superintendent that we have in this district.
I didn't know that.
He's-
Yes.
I didn't know that.
He's top-notch
Yeah.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey. So I mean that would be something that would
I
be
think it would
beneficial for
benefit
your
children
program.
and families and campuses and all around. It would be a great idea.
Okay, because I just started thinking about that.
It's worth a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the work that you do is so very important, and I don't think people understand the importance of it for the students, but not just the students, but for the parents, for the families. My mom taught pre-K for 30-something years, and she always said that her favorite part about it was interacting with the parents and teaching the parents as well. And I don't know if people realize how much, you talked about it tonight, but I don't know if people realize how much of that there is. And I thank you for that.
Yeah, we had a core group of families that came to 6 weeks of parenting classes at Creekview Elementary of 20 to 30 families, so it was really great.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'll follow up on that. Obviously, it's such an important part of our school district. I love that you linked it to our strategic goals. Because obviously you are just a huge tie into that goal too, specifically. It really starts there with the babies and their families. I have two questions. One, I just want to make sure I clarify, because I know there's changes over the last few years about pre-K. All pre-K falls under you and Head Start? Is that?
It is. We are in the Early Education Services Department. Yes.
And so all of that money is also part of that 2.3?
No.
No, that's
pre-K is state funded.
Okay.
Through the general fund.
Okay, just want to clarify that. I thought so. So that was one. That I think I've kind of asked this before. I always, when I see that waiting list, right, and it's, what did you say, 30 or something like that? Some. How do we get rid of the waiting list? What do you need to get rid of the waiting list and have more kids in the
We
program?
need Head Start to give us more money for more slots.
How does that happen?
That's what we rewrite our grant every 5 years, and we have one more year in this grant, and we could ask, but again, it comes down to space. Where would we put those 30x? That's 2 classrooms of 3-year-olds, and so if we had an early education center, maybe we could fit them. But our campuses are getting full.
No, but that's good to know. Good. Yeah. Okay.
Again, that's just to remind us all that's federal funds. Right?
For Head Start,
For Head
yes.
Start.
And those 30 on the waiting list, the majority are 3-year-olds, and they can only be served in Head Start. We do not serve 3-year-olds in pre-K.
Exactly, right. Oh, no, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah.
I think you're staying up there anyway.
Yes.
But that'll bring us to H2, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the 21-22 birth to 5 Head Start self-assessment for for College Station ISD. Do I just swing it to her?
Yeah, Shelley, anything, kind of mentioned it before you started your report, but anything you want to share on, the assessment information was
Yeah, it was
incorporated in your
presented
report
in a full report it's linked to the agenda.
and it's a requirement for your program. The
Yes.
board has to approve the self-assessment,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's or they do that? Okay.
I move to approve the Birth to 5 Head Start Program 2021-2022 self-assessment.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Nolan, a second by Mr. Ben. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
That will bring us to item I1, consideration, discussion, and possible action related to teacher incentive allotment fees for local designation of teachers to be paid to the Texas Education Agency at the required rate of $500 per teacher, not to exceed a total amount of $90,000, and to be reimbursed to CSISD upon approval of the district's TIA system. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. Horak and board members. With additional information on this agenda item is Chief Administrative Officer and Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Molly Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Martindale. Mr. Horak, members of the board, as I prepared for this evening's item requesting your approval of the payment of these fees, I realized that it has been almost 3 years since we began the discussion here in College Station ISD about teacher incentive allotment. In February of 2020, we first really just opened it up to talk a little bit about what we knew about the new legislative action related to TIA. And so it has been quite a journey so far, and we are not quite there yet. So before I ask for your action on this item, we're going to do a quick overview of our teacher incentive allotment system and where we are in that process, as well as what is next. So as you may recall, this was part of House Bill 3, I believe in the 86th legislative session. And the intent of this particular initiative was to provide a way for the most high-performing teachers, especially those in rural and high poverty schools, to earn additional compensation. So there's two ways that that can happen. One is for a teacher to earn a national board certification, and that's something that we have advertised to our teachers, and we've in fact gotten some systems in place to help support them through that process, because it is relatively arduous and takes generally a few years to do. That does result in an automatic recognized designation. You can also develop your own local system, and in that system a teacher could achieve 3 different levels of designation. And so you can see here recognized, exemplary, and master, and those different levels have different amounts of funding based upon the particular school where that teacher is teaching, the level of poverty at that school, as well as whether it's classified as rural or not. Once a teacher does earn that designation, it actually goes on their Texas teaching certificate, and it stays there for 5 years and follows them as long as they continue to be in a classroom teacher position. So there is a 2-pronged process to this approval, the first of which is through the Texas Education Agency. We submitted our application after a lengthy period with a committee consisting primarily of teachers, where we designed what measures would be included for both teacher observation and student performance. And once they verified that our system met the requirements under the law, we then moved into the next phase. Now we're moving into phase 2 with the data review, where in partnership with Texas Tech University, we submit all of that student performance and teacher observation for a validation process to look at whether or not our system is accurate and reliably predicting these designations. So here in College Station ISD, we determined that we would have 2 factors in our system, both of which are required. Some districts do have other measures, but our committee determined to go with the 2. So for teachers in grades K through 8 who are teaching English language arts, math, and science, the teacher observation component would be aspects from T-tests at a weight of 50%, and then students fall to spring or beginning to end of year growth on MAP. Then for our early childhood teachers, the same, except for they would use their assessment circle, which you just heard Ms. Rice discuss. So I mentioned that timeline started back in 2020. That was really that development process with the committee that we talked about. That took quite some time. In April of 21 is when we submitted that initial phase of application to TEA, and we did receive notification in August of 21 that that was approved. Then throughout the last school year, 21-22, we collected that baseline data with both the teacher observation and student performance, and then have just recently submitted all of that information to TEA and Texas Tech University to validate our system. That has been submitted, and along with that comes a required fee structure of $500 per teacher that is being recommended for designation. Now, it is important to note that upon approval, which we would hope to receive in February of 23, we would get reimbursed for those fees. And then late spring, we actually received notification of those designated teachers and the specific amounts, because we will recalibrate the amounts based on campus levels of poverty. And then finally, what everyone is most interested in knowing, if our system is approved, those initial payouts would be received and distributed in August of 23, just before the next school year. So with that, we have submitted 179 teachers who would be eligible for a local designation if our system is fully approved. With that fee being $500 per teacher, that comes to just under $90,000. And again, upon approval, those fees would be reimbursed to the district. And with that, it is recommended that we approve the expenditure associated with these fees as our next step in the teacher incentive allotment.
So I was on this committee, and I can't believe we're here. I'm not going to lie, because it seems like so long ago. But I know this was a process too, based on the calendar. So first things first, on the August 23rd payout accordingly, is that lump sum to the teachers, those 179? 179? Okay. Is this also possibly a recruiting tool for us as a district going forward upon approval?
I think for any district that has a system approved, it is not only an aspect of recruitment, but also retention.
Okay, right, correct.
I move to approve as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Hall, a second by Mr. Decker. Any further questions or?
I do have another quick question. Well, two things. I mean, I would clarify, if it's not accepted, it implies that we would not get the reimbursement? Is that true?
We would not get the reimbursement until our system is accepted. And so if for some reason we are notified in February that our system is not accepted, we would work with the Texas Education Agency to determine what adjustments we might need to make to continue forward and seek approval.
Okay, great. Then I guess my other one is more long-term, is the next steps with the TIA, because I know, again, being on part of that committee, this was this first set of teachers was the first ones that were identified that had a way to measure, the performance and become part of the program, but it's not addressing all of our teachers out there, all of our educators. Can you just real quickly, what's the future plans for the next, cohorts, next folks?
Absolutely. So in addition to what I mentioned regarding national board certification as a way to support teachers who are not currently included, it is absolutely our desire to design a system that ultimately includes all of our teachers from pre-K through grades 12. And we began those discussions actually back when we started that initial phase. And now that we have gotten this first cohort under our belts, so to speak, we're picking back up in those conversations about what other types of measures, when NWEA MAP is not available, can we use that would be acceptable as a valid and reliable measure of student performance in the system.
Are the 179, are those teachers aware of who they are? Have they been notified?
So we have been holding on specific notifications due to where we are in the approval process. Many of them are aware because they have been tracking. When a teacher is giving MAP at the beginning of the school year, they are able to access those reports and know exactly what the target is for each of their students to achieve in order to meet that growth status at the end of the year, and have done the calculations on their own. We are going to notify them, but we were just holding holding off a little longer is to not create confusion about where we are in the approval process.
Okay. And then, and I don't know if you can answer this question, is there concern that this state funding goes away at some point?
I think that's always a concern when you're talking about a state-funded initiative. I also know that, legislatively, this was something that was bipartisan as an effort as part of House Bill 3, and certainly the need to compensate teachers has not only not gone away, but has increased since that time.
Also, do you think maybe this committee will get back together, or you said y'all are starting some discussions, or what?
I would expect that it would be a smaller subcommittee that really focuses on those content areas and grade levels rather than a comprehensive district-wide committee to develop the system. We would be able to do an addendum to our system to add in those additional components.
Because I do think, I mean, it is a significant amount of money potentially, and I do think it is something that, fairness was always a question. So I do think after this first pass, I mean, I think it's something we need to be careful that, again, we try to make it available for as many teachers as possible in a fair and meaningful way, right? That was the whole goal. So thank you.
Anything else? In review, we had a motion by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Decker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will bring us to item K1. Consider award of a contract for upgrades to elementary and intermediate school security vestibules to Spall Glass Construction based on by board job order contract number 660-21 in the amount of $818,000 using either the School Safety Standards Formula Grant, 2021 bond funds, or a combination thereof. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. White and board members. We have Mr. John Hall, Executive Director of Facilities here with additional details on this item. John?
Thank you, Mr. Martindale, Mr. Horak, members of the board. Back in November of 21, College Station ISD voters passed a bond issue for us for $78.125 million for renovations to district facilities and other items. And I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to the voters for supporting us and trusting us with those funds. One significant project or area that we identified for that bond planning was for district-wide safety improvements. The project I'm pitching past you tonight is the first significant piece of that safety improvements, specifically for the security vestibules at 9 of our elementary campuses and all 3 of our intermediate campuses. Due to the security sensitive nature of this project, we processed this one slightly differently than we normally do. We went through our design process basically the same way we always do. We did have VLK architects lead our design effort. We included our district safety coordinator, Tracy McClendon, and our director of technology, David Hutchison. So thank you all for the help on that design. Where we changed our process just a little bit is since this was security sensitive, we called in a couple of our trusted purchasing cooperative firms to come in and had individual meetings with them to go over all of the safety information on this. We didn't want to just put that out for public consumption, so to speak. We wanted to keep that a little closer to the vest. So we had the meetings with Spall Glass Construction and Aggieland Construction to review these drawings. They reviewed the process, reviewed the project, and gave us proposals. And the one who came in as the highest ranked proposal was Spall Glass Construction. They also had the lowest bid at $818,000. We did realize as we were getting close to putting this memo together too that we had an option that was developing for a second source of funding for this. That's why you see 2 different sources of funding for us tonight. One of them was the original that we identified. It was the 21 bond package, but also School Safety Standards Formula Grant that Mrs. Drozd is processing right now. So we wanted to keep that as an option for funding all or part of this project as well. We're trying to stretch those safety dollars just as far as we possibly can. So, and just briefly, I just wanted to mention the schedule as well for this. Assuming it passes tonight, we would be processing this starting over the Christmas break. And the majority of the work would happen over about the next 3 months, but we do have some long lead item electronic components to this as well. So we'll be waiting for those for probably until mid to late spring to get the rest of those, and then we'll be finishing up all of the project. We anticipate by the end of the spring semester. So with all of that said, it's recommended that the College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees consider award of a contract for upgrades to elementary and intermediate school security vestibules to Spall Glass Construction in the amount of $818,000 using either the School Safety Standards Formula Grant, 2021 bond funds, or a combination thereof. And with that, I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
I'd move to accept as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Ben, second by Dr. Payne. Any further discussion?
So are there plans to do the same for the middle schools and high schools eventually?
Yes, there are. We wanted to focus on the elementaries and intermediates first because those specific campuses don't have a school resource deputy assigned to them. So we were going to get them knocked out as quickly as we could, but we will be following this up soon with the middle schools and high schools.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Hall. That'll bring us to item L, executive session. The board will meet in executive session to conduct a closed meeting to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property because the deliberation in an open meeting would have detrimental effect on the position of the district in negotiations with a third party. Executive session deliberations will be held pursuant to the deliberation regarding real property closed meeting. Exception to the Texas Open Meetings Act is set forth in section 551.0742 of the Texas Governmental Code. Appreciate y'all being here. Hopefully you're here when we get back. Wow, we have people here.
Sorry, I told Ms. Benden they're setting up for tomorrow morning in Grant Patrol.
hanging
So
out. That's
I
awesome.
told them you can go happily. Look, I told her 2 rows of chairs. There they are, right there. Perfectly.
All right, that'll bring us back to open session item M1.
I move to approve the resolution as presented for the approval of the assignment and assumption of a contract to purchase approximately 60 acres of real property located at 2441 Arrington Road and a portion of 2327 Arrington Road, College Station, Texas.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hall, a second by Dr. Payne. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0, and that will adjourn us for tonight.